Hello and welcome, friends and family, to our holiday special on Southeast Iowa Union Sports Talk. I am your host, Andy Kretzinger. If you remember me, since I was sick last week, it kind of ruined our originally scheduled holiday special.
Yeah, I was sick too.
And Hunter Muller, who was sick on the Tuesday, we were going to do it Tuesday, and you got sick, and then we were going to do it Wednesday, and I got sick. And so now we're back a week later for the holiday special. Andy Kretzinger, Hunter Muller, Nick Steffens on the ones and twos over there. And if you're watching this, then good for you, because it's 2 o'clock, so it just started. So you're waiting on us, or you're just watching it on replay. We're on Washington Live's YouTube, Washington Live's Facebook, Mount Pleasant Live's Facebook, Fairfield Live's Facebook. I should just record this and then play it.
Yeah.
We're on Spotify, Washington Live video and audio, and we're here talking a little high school sports, a little college sports too with Iowa Wesleyan. And Hunter, it's been a while because we've been on break. There's been a week since we were supposed to talk last, but we had some games on that Tuesday and talk about kind of the state of basketball and wrestling. And first off, basketball. It was a big day on Tuesday, Hunter. Southeast Conference slate. I was this is the day that Hunter was sick. You were supposed to go to Washington boys against Fort Madison, which you watched. You watched both the boys and the girls online?
Yeah, I just kind of, that's how I kind of went about seeing the stories.
That's a lifesaver when they stream it when you're sick. I had that. I got sick at, this might be too much information, but I got sick at a Fairfield game last year. It was a girl-boy doubleheader. I got sick at halftime of the girls' game, and I stumbled out of there. I'm like, somehow limped my way home, and put myself up on the couch and watched the boys' game, and it was like, oh, this is the life right here.
Yep.
I was also cold. I was at the Mount Pleasant girls' game. We're going to start with Mount Pleasant girls just because I was there live. Wasn't necessarily the most exciting game of the unless you had, wanted Mount Pleasant to win by a lot of points, because Mount Pleasant girls beat Burlington 49-13. Now this is 1 point away from the school record for Mount Pleasant girls basketball defense points allowed. They actually broke it. A lot of these girls were on the team last year when they held Burlington to 12 points. Maybe, was that last year? It might have been a few years ago. It might not even been Burlington. It might have been somebody else. But it's 12 points, and so the fun of it was seeing if Burlington could score the extra point. The Greyhounds were without their leading scorer, who scores 19 points a game, who got hurt right before the Fairfield game, which they also lost. So they were shorthanded for sure. And Mount Pleasant pressed them like crazy, and they won that 49-13. They were up 37-6 at halftime and 43-6 after 3 quarters. And the starters didn't play, the last 8 to 10 minutes of the game, obviously. So Andrea Loprado had another big game. Well, it wasn't really a big game by her standards, but she got it in 3 quarters. 16 points, 12 rebounds. Tristan Scholl hit all 3 of her 3-point attempts for 11 points. Andy Scott had 6. Mackenzie Musselman had 4 rebounds. She was up there on the rebounding stats. She also had 4 assists, 4 rebounds and 4 assists, and then Kate Schimmelfingen had 4. Schimmelfingen is a really hard name to pronounce. I can't even say the words name to pronounce. But when they did the Iowa versus Missouri shootout game in Cahokia, Missouri, a couple weekends ago, I was there, and they just shortened her name so that when they were announcing her, they just said Kate Shim, and I thought it was funny. It's like, this announcer's not even going to try and pronounce her name.
Perfect.
So it was a big one. So it was happy over at Mount Pleasant High School until we pulled up. Athletic Director Scott Lamb had the boys' game run on his phone, and the boys' game was a lot closer. Mount Pleasant was up by 1 point, thanks to Peyton Higgins got fouled in the last 10 seconds and made both ends of a 1-1. They were up 56. Let's see. Oh yeah, they were up 54-53 against Burlington. If Mount Pleasant would have won that game, they would have been undefeated into the break in the Southeast Conference play. Burlington got up court, 2.7 seconds left. They called timeout, not even past half court. And Burlington hit a 3-pointer from the corner. I had that kid's name that hit the 3 to beat Mount Pleasant the other day. He only had 7 points in the game. It was Christos Cancelavos. I'm hoping I pronounced that right. And they threw it to him in the corner, and he just kind of caught it, and we were watching on the little screen kind of kind of crowded around. And at that point, it was only Mount Pleasant people left because I was doing the interview, so the Burlington people had left, and it went in, splashed down, and a heartbreaking loss for Mount Pleasant, and one that really shakes up the Southeast Conference. Well, I mean, it was going to be close anyway, but you were going to have at least a favorite going into break, and it was 56-54 Burlington, a big one.
Well, talking about that too is like you mentioned I feel like we always mention this about the race being a tight one. Well, right now it's Burlington at the top of 3-1, and Mount Pleasant's 3-1, Washington. All three of those are 3-1. All three of them are 3-1. And obviously, Washington's already beaten Burlington, and Mount Pleasant, Burlington couldn't win either way. So and you got Fairfield at 2-2, and they played a close one with everybody so far. They haven't played Mount Pleasant yet, but so really, we're just repeating the same thing over and over again. But really, it can go either way.
It's anybody's game. So the three teams have all beaten each other. Mount Pleasant beat Washington, and the home team won every time. Burlington beat Mount Pleasant at home. Washington beat Burlington.
And Burlington's only loss is Washington, so.
Yeah, 8-1 Burlington is. And so in that particular game, by the way, Peyton Higgins for Mount Pleasant, 19 points, 10 rebounds, and 4 assists. He leads them in every statistical category. It's crazy. Major ones anyway. Aiden Ashton, 15, Nate Stroud, 10. But yeah, as you said, it's crazy. And Fairfield not only is 2-2, but one of their losses to Burlington was without J.J. Lane, who scored 17 a game. And then they lost a very close game that you were at against Washington. The one negative for Fairfield, I think, is that both those games were at home that they lost. That's the difference, and obviously it's a negative, in my opinion, for Fairfield and Mount Pleasant that they both have to play each other twice.
Right.
Because the other, Burlington and Washington, will be playing the Lee County teams who are a little younger. But yeah, that race is a little crazy right now. And speaking of, the Washington boys did need a win against Fort Madison to go 3-1 with the other two heading into break, and you were curdled up probably with some chicken noodle soup watching that game. How'd it go?
Yeah, I mean, last year Washington headed down to Fort Madison, and Fort Madison put it to them, and obviously that Fort Madison team last year was real stout. Obviously ranked number 1 for quite a while, but Washington pulls out of their pulls out a 57-37 win. So as you mentioned, a big win for the Demons to tie there, at least in the conference standings. It was a real close one after one, probably closer than Coach Stark would have liked. But Washington led 12-9 after one, and then 22-20 at the half. And then they just really picked it up in the second half. This is what we've seen Washington kind of do this year, is they'll play teams kind of lower, play teams at their level for a half and really just come out, with just blowing the gates open. Out of the halftime. And they did it once again in the third. They outscored them 18-6. And, just kind of rode that kind of momentum the rest of the way out. Outscored them 17-11 in the fourth. And like I said, 57-37 win for Washington. And, they're sitting at, a very nice spot. I'm sure, for them, obviously, they probably like to be at the top. But,
of course.
Anything can happen to where they're sitting right now.
Yeah, it would be 4 in a row if they could even get a share. It'd be four in a row, which means the seniors on that team would have won 4 SEC titles. And then the girls game, you said you watched that, and that got exciting for a while, and they couldn't. That would have been a hard one to go down there to Fort Madison and pull off a win. But what happened?
Well, yeah. So Washington falls in this one 52-46. In this one we kind of saw Fort Madison kind of pull away. Washington kind of had to fight back in this one. So they, the Bloodhounds jumped out to a 10-4 lead early. By the end of the first, they led 12-7. In the second, Fort Madison began to pull away. They had built up a 19-7 lead, and then with a layup with less than 25 seconds left, they made a 12-point game, 33-21 heading into the half. But then we kind of same thing with the boys, same kind of story here. The Demons put a 9-0 run together, cutting Fort Madison's lead to 44-41, and that was in the fourth quarter. So they cut it down to a 3-point game there. Fort Madison did a free throw with 3:24 left to make it 45-43, and then the closest they come since the first quarter, Washington was able to make it a 2-point game at 48-46, but
couldn't quite.
Bloodhounds hit their free throws down the stretch, and that ended up being the difference. But I guess looking at this one, positive with huge positive for them being able to kind of climb their way back. Just you kind of look at that first half as like the difference maker in that, but if you take that away and you play how they did in the second, then completely different game for them.
Yeah, and I think Washington has proven that even though they're younger than the other 3 real big contenders in the race, because Washington's 2-2, they're right where the Fairfield boys are, where they're behind a 3-way tie by 1 game, but they've shown that they're right up there with the older teams, and so I'm sure they'll knock one of them off at some point. They still have to play Keokuk in the round, and so that's obviously tough, and you know that because you had wrote the Fairfield girls. Fairfield and Keokuk girls have been the class of the SEC the last like 10 years. Back, and maybe not 10. Some Washington fans would probably say I was wrong on that because Washington had a really good team before that. But 5 or 6 years they've been going back and forth, and this just happens to be a year where Keokuk's got enough back, and Fairfield was basically brand new, and they're at Keokuk, and didn't quite work out for them.
Well, on the boys' side, I don't have the girl game pulled up.
Oh, you got the boys. I'll take the girls.
But I could pull it up if you wanted me to. But
yeah, you're good.
But I can go over the boys real quick.
Yeah, go over the boys.
So for Fairfield, the boys, they kind of been on a little losing streak there as of late. Some tight losses. I was talking about that Burlington was the latest, but they head down to Keokuk, pull out a 62-56 win. Fantastic first quarter for the Trojans in this one. They outscored them 19-6 in the first, 16-9 in the second there. So they had a 35-15 lead at half. Things kind of got a little shaky there for them in the second half, particularly in the fourth. Keokuk kind of began to claw back, 17-15 in the third. So they still held a pretty favorable 50-32 lead heading into the fourth, but they gave up 24 points, scored 12 of their own in that fourth quarter, and that brought it back. Still gave them the edge in the end, but ended up being a lot closer than I'm sure the old Trojans would have liked in that one. And one thing I forgot to mention about the Washington games is, but I'll mention about Fairfield, so sorry for Washington, but J.J. Lane scored 14 points, Max Wheaton 13, Sam Wheaton 12, that one.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So going off that, huge win for, Fairfield. Obviously, they could be sitting at 1-2 instead of 2-2, and that kind of, doesn't limit their chances. I shouldn't say it like that, but makes it a lot harder to crawl back in with how the other teams have been playing.
Yeah, that's true. And this game, they don't play. Fairfield and Mount Pleasant don't play. There's another round where they play teams they've already played, but Fairfield plays at Washington on the January 6th. That'll be the first conference game back. And that'll be huge, and I'm sure that'll be a fun little atmosphere. Fairfield and Washington have had some clashes, and so we'll talk about that a little more next week because it'll be more of a preview show for what's to come. But I had the Fairfield girls. What was I thinking earlier, putting you on the spot with the Fairfield girls? But I already talked about it a little bit. They went down to Keokuk in the game. It was a doubleheader. The game before the boys played, 67-25 in favor of Keokuk, who's really been rolling. Keokuk beat Fort Madison by double digits the other day too, so Keokuk's kind of starting to feel it. Savannah Hollander, who's top five in scoring, by the way, in the SEC right now. She had 11 points. We had, let's see here, Maddie Jones had 5. Addison Farrell, I believe, had a 3 in that one. And Grace Lyon had 5. I wanted to call her Mallory right there.
Yeah,
so those last
couple
names,
Lions. Yeah.
It's hard to those last names pop up on you. It was tough. Not much you can say going down to Keokuk's. Of all the sports, going down to Keokuk to play girls basketball might be the least fruitful as far as bringing home wins. But right now the Chiefs are 3-1, Fort Madison 3-1, and Mount Pleasant 3-1. It's almost the exact same.
Almost
thing
exact same.
Boys.
Just different teams slipped in there.
Yep.
Washington
and then
being 2-2.
Washington is 2-2, and I think just like the Fairfield boys, Washington girls could beat any of those 3 teams. So it's exciting leading up. We'll talk a little more of that about that next week, of course, because we have less games to talk about in next week's show. Right now, what we have to do is send our holiday cheer to our sponsors with a 2-minute commercial. So stay with us, and we're gonna show off our jammies when we get back.
Oh, it's over here.
Promise you.
Little sneak peek.
Yeah.
Federation Bank is a locally owned bank providing award-winning customer service. We believe that we are more than just a federation of banks, but a federation of communities, serving Brighton, Richland, Wellman, and Washington, Iowa. Federation Bank's highly skilled staff is here to make sure you are able to accomplish your personal and professional goals, whatever they may be. Federation Bank, your family bank.
Hospice isn't a place, it's a type of care that focuses on living. Servicing a 7-county area, the Hospice of Washington County staff of nurses, social work, hospice aides, spiritual and grief support, volunteers, music and massage therapists are able to provide free end-of-life care where the patient lives. We write wills, give consent for organ donation, but rarely is there a plan for what we would want the final phase of our lives. At Hospice of Washington County, we encourage our patients to be in charge of their healthcare decisions while maintaining quality of life.
At the Capper Auto Group, we put our customers' needs first and understand that everyone is as different as the vehicle they select. We offer new Ford, Chevrolet, Buick, GMC, Jeep, Chrysler, Dodge, and Ram vehicles in a friendly environment that puts you in the driver's seat. When it comes to service, we maintain factory-trained technicians and competitive pricing. The Capper Auto Group still believes that service after the sale provides the best customer experience. Come see the Capper experience for yourself.
We're back, and we're back on our holiday special. We said it was a holiday special. We didn't even explain why.
Right.
It's because it's the holidays, people. I mean, figure it out.
Hope you all have a Merry Christmas.
Yeah, we dressed a little fun. I wore my Mickey Mouse jammies today. So you got some jammy pants there, red.
Yeah,
matching.
Got a little, a little green and blue there, a little red.
Yeah, I'm colorblind, so all I see is the red. But these were family matching jammies.
Oh, nice.
With my 4-year-old, but we bought these when she was 2, and so I was
wearing them ever since.
I wore them this morning after we told her that she couldn't fit into hers for Christmas. We got new ones, and she's kind of confused today. Well, how come I grew out of my jammies and Daddy didn't grow out of his jammies? Well, kept myself nice and slim the last couple of years.
Yeah, there you go.
These things, and I also have
just like you remember.
Yeah, I also have the my Mickey Mouse shirt that she bought
me.
Can I see that Mickey Mouse shirt? So Disney, we'll be sending a bill to Disney for advertising. And so whoever's in charge,
hopefully you get a heavy check for that.
Yeah, send them a check. We just had a lot of free publicity for them. They're probably going to get some money from that.
Because they need all the publicity they can get from us.
They need all the publicity they can get, so we're going to charge Disney on that. But I love the shirt, actually, Mickey Mouse. I don't know. I'm a big Mickey fan now. Well, my kid is, and it's all we watch. So anyway, talk about some more basketball.
Yep.
And it's a fun little time in the small schools. As we talked about, the SEC has been a little more competitive as far as all the teams are pretty close in boys basketball. The Super Conference, you have your stud teams, and one of those is New London. And New London hadn't notched too many real big quality wins. They played a non-conference game at Moravia, undefeated Moravia, on Tuesday night. Went in and beat them 73-59. So I think we talked on the way up here about the teams with the most potential.
Yep.
And New London obviously has Blaze Porter, Cade Benjamin, two of the best players in our area, both seniors. So big win for those guys. Cardinal hosted Danville in a formerly Southeast Iowa Super Conference South Division clash. Obviously, Cardinals in the South Central Conference now, so it's non-conference. Danville's really good. That Caden Gorley kid, shout out Lucas Gorley, his dad, who watches the show, and Danville New England cross country coach. He's shifty, and he scored 23 points on him. Danville 69, Cardinal 30. So Comets couldn't get a very nostalgic South Division win in that one. Keota all over BGM. This is a Monday game, last Monday, 73-35. Cole Kindred with 18, Sawyer Stout with 15, Aiden McGuire with 8. Keota continues to kind of run that little area. It'll be really interesting to see where Keota fits if they put him in the same district bracket. What am I doing over here? This is sign language for district bracket.
Yeah, that's your bracket.
To see where they rank them, because it's obviously a tough area over here, but they're really doing well in the Sickle, South Iowa Cedar League. Waco, number 5 now in the inaugural Iowa High School Athletic Association rankings. 72-29 over Lone Tree. They're rolling. They're undefeated, Hunter.
First off, it's just crazy that they didn't have those rankings before.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, it seems kind of weird.
We did. We used to run the Gazette rankings, which I voted in, and then I'm not sure if I voted in them last year. We obviously run those for football,
right?
But then they announced they were going to have rankings for the Iowa High School Athletic Association this year, but it took a little while for them to get out. So 72-29. Speaking of people named Hunter Hughes had 28 points. which is impressive because there's no way he played more than the first 3 quarters. That was another like Loprado with the Mount Pleasant girls. Hillcrest Academy 59-46 over Wapello. Seth Hours hit 6 3-pointers on that one. He scored 22 points. Grant Binder had 15. By the way, Grant Binder is a top 5 in field goal percentage in all of Iowa boys basketball, which is extremely impressive because he doesn't only score down low.
Nope.
Pekin lost another tough one. Loiza Muscatine 54-45 over Pekin. The Panthers have only lost close games and to really good teams. I thought they could probably get this one, but they couldn't quite do it. Had a nice little run towards the end, but couldn't complete the comeback. And then Winfield Mount Union 69-34 over Highland. And we see it's a broken record. Every week we talk about this. Winfield Mount Union and Waco are beating teams by so much that they're just they got one more game against each other at Waco here in either January or February, and they're just like 2 runaway trains headed towards each other. So that should be fun. It's always fun when the 2 teams that are they pile up these 30-point wins and then you get to see them go against each other. So hopefully we'll be able to cover that one live this year.
Because Winfield's only losses
is the Waco. 4-point game at Winfield. So fun stuff there. Obviously, we always talk about how Hillcrest is right on the cusp of those guys.
Right there.
Super North. The very tough Super North.
Went to overtime with Winfield. Really exciting overtime. I think it was 49-46. Or 59-56, I think. Was that one.
So anyway, that's all for the boys. It was kind of a shortened slate a little bit. That's why you saw a couple of non-conference, but there were some girls games, and you're going to see some similar teams here, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and in 2022 with wins, there's only 2 of our teams, and that would be the usual suspects of Waco and Winfield. Waco downs Lone Tree 61-35. The Warriors led 12-7 after 1, 22-18 at the half, and pulled away with an 18-12 third and 21-5 fourth. Ella Kissel ended with 22 points. She's kind of been their go-to scorer last 3 years. Grace Coble had 17. She's real efficient as well. For Winfield, obviously ranked, I believe it was 11 in this latest poll. They down Highland 57-23. Really made a statement early. They led 18-0 after the first. They outscored them 16-9, 10-8, and 13-6 the rest of the way. And now those were only two to win, so the rest of our teams had tough weeks to end 2022.
Yeah, short.
Danville 60, Cardinal 45, Central East 68 over Columbus 32. The Hawks outscored the Wildcats 23-8 in the first, 18-13 in second, and they held a 41-21 lead at the half. Columbus had a kind of slow start to the second in that one, 15-2 quarter by the Hawks in that. So they led 56-23 into the fourth, and they sealed it with a 12-9 quarter in that one. And Sarah Vela led Columbus with 10 points and 11 rebounds. Loiza Muscatine defeated Pekin 41-31. Wapello 46 over Hillcrest Academy 13. Like you said, short little slate there to end this year. But we see kind of the teams that are having success or still having success, and there's some teams right there in the middle that are right on the cusp. So
yeah, you mentioned the usual suspects, and I had a chance to read. Jeff Linder of the Gazette wrote one of his. He does playoff predictors for the brackets, so he basically lays out an entire postseason bracket. They're not official; it's just what he thinks might happen. And because Notre Dame is currently ranked number 10 in Class 1A, and Winfield Mount Union is ranked number 11, he actually had there's no other teams in that bracket that are ranked, so that he had Notre Dame as the 1 seed in the local region, Winfield as the 2, and then Waco as the 3, which would be impressive because the last few years Winfield and Winfield and Notre Dame have played in the regional semifinals, and then they've had some top 5 or whatever team that they would have had to beat after that. So I thought that was pretty interesting. We could be headed towards a local, even if Notre Dame's in it, a local regional final, which would be kind of fun. We talk about how packed it gets when that kind of stuff happens.
Well, it's just crazy too, looking at the North Division as well. Like going back to the North Division, I guess with Winfield and Waco, it's like they're set for a clash. When the girls on the girls' side too, it's pretty crazy. So
yeah, Waco is definitely a contender to beat Winfield. They didn't the first time around in Winfield, but they made it pretty close.
Yep.
I was at a game last year at Waco where. And Winfield's been a little better than Waco the last few years.
Yep.
But I was at a game last year where Waco challenged them. Winfield's obviously 10-0 now.
Yep.
Waco 7-2. So it'll be that game when Winfield and Waco play in Wayland later on this year. Maybe I could actually click this little schedule button and figure out what day that is. That'll be
crazy environment.
Crazy environment, possibly for the North Division Championship. As I mentioned earlier, the Hillcrest boys will have something to say about that. That's going to be January the 17th. So we're coming up on
Close.
it at Waco High School. So also Winfield Union plays Mediapolis on the 9th. So they've got a couple of big games, and if Winfield wins the North, then they'll be playing more than likely Notre Dame or West Burlington in the shootout championship as well. So there's some big games coming for those guys, but they are our last undefeated. Waco boys and Winfield girls are our last two undefeated basketball teams. So fun. And speaking of fun,
what do we have?
We got another commercial for you. Actually, a couple, because we got 2 more minutes worth of commercial. And when we come back, we'll talk. There's a little bit of wrestling, and then we're gonna make some predictions on Iowa's bowl game coming on Saturday, and we'll show off our pajamas a little bit more. Oh, I lost a button over here. Didn't lose it, but it's just all right. Commercial in 3, 2, 1. We'll be back.
Protection is important, especially when you're talking about your dreams, which is why we're going to keep you covered with plans that can save you up to 23% when you bundle your home and auto. That's protection.
Family owned and operated by Andy and Sarah Ross, Ross Auto has been your vehicle repair and maintenance headquarters since 1935. We specialize in all makes of cars and light-duty trucks. With our variety of available services, let us help you keep rolling and your vehicle operating efficiently. Services include general auto repair, alignments, brakes, fuel injection, and more. Schedule your appointment today at 319-653-5656. That's 319-653-5656.
And we're back. 2 minutes. I had a nice little run to get water that almost made me late. But we're back. Southeast Iowa Union Sports Talk Live. I almost called it Sports Live, which is wrong. It's Sports Talk. We're on Washington Live's YouTube, Mount Pleasant Live's Facebook, Fairfield Live's Facebook, Washington Live's Facebook, also on Spotify. By the way, those people who also like the news, we also have news breaks on all 3 now Facebook. So there are, like if you go to Mount Pleasant's Facebook or Fairfield's Facebook, there's also town-specific or Washington's, but you've had that for a while. Nick does town-specific updates for news. And so if you're into the newsies, want to know what's happening outside of sports, you know, you don't want to be watching a basketball game and then there's like a tornado outside and you haven't been paying attention to the news, told you there was a tornado coming.
Yep.
Then check that out. We've got programming pretty much all day, and you can always watch it on replay, watch us on replay. So if you're like, oh yeah, Hunter had some sweet
My mom does that.
pajamas. Yeah, Hunter's mom is a big fan of ours. So shout out Hunter's mom, probably watching at some point.
Yep.
I'm sure my mom will watch at some point. I'll make her watch tomorrow because she's coming over.
There you go.
For Christmas stuff, and
Put it on the big TV or something.
Put it on the big. I actually love putting it on the big TV because my 4-year-old just dumbfounded that I would be on the same team the same TV that supports the likes of the Wiggles and Mickey and Blippi and all those guys. So I like to do that on the smart TV. What did you get? Did you get any good?
You're a hero, man.
Yeah, I mean I'm a big TV star. We're basically TV stars.
Yep.
Put us on a TV. Did you get any good Christmas presents, by the way? We didn't talk about that.
I got some great Christmas presents, man.
I saw one of them because you have a Kansas City Chiefs, like a big mouse pad type thing.
Yeah, I got this big mouse pad. I got a couple pairs of socks. I got a funny thing. I hate my wallet, so I got like a Ridge wallet, like the little those little the little wallets that you slip your like your credit cards and you can get a money clip on it. Got one of those because I hate how my wallet like sits in like my jeans and stuff. And all that, but yeah, I got some real nice stuff, man.
It was a game changer a few years ago when I decided to switch my wallet from my back pocket to my front pocket. Like, changed my entire life. So anybody that's just sitting out there sitting on your wallet right now because you put it in your back pocket of your jeans, you're not living life like you should be. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say is I realized I said the only piece of clothing I got was socks, but I got like this nice Iowa kind of button up. Yeah, I'm either gonna wear it golf and I'll wear it for a sport, going out covering things. So
I like that.
Yeah,
not
just socks, but
I might wear this. Maybe next week I'll wear this. I got a dad jersey. I got a football jersey that says Dad on the back, which is kind of cool. We have a present for our watchers. That like wrestling, because we're going to talk a little bit of wrestling. There wasn't that much, but it was a weekend tournament. There obviously wasn't conference stuff on this last Tuesday, but tell me what happened on the weekend tournaments in the old wrestling world.
Yeah, there was just some girls tournaments here, so I'll just run through here what I talked about last week. So Mount Pleasant, Fairfield, Mid Prairie all headed up to Wilton for the Wilton Women's Tournament on Saturday. Obviously not this Saturday, but last Saturday. For Mount Pleasant, Zenlin Lee took first overall at 190. Natalie Albright was the first place finisher at 235. And then for Fairfield, Leah Abbott and Jaden Scharf were both fourth place finishers. They were both highest finishers for the Trojans there. Abbott at 105 and Scharf at 120. Let's see here, Mid Prairie, they have a huge team. So Gabby Robertson at 100 pounds, Ellie Brenneman at 135, and Mia Garvey at 155 are all first place finishers. See here. So as for other teams, I'll just kind of go through the top place finishers, first place finishers, and that stuff. But so Cardinal, Pekin, and Waco, we're all at the Sheraton Girls Wrestling Invitational.
Sheraton, there you go, mile down.
For Cardinal, the highest finisher of the competition was Asia Cox. Took first at 155. Let's see here. For Waco, Grace Fort was first place finisher at 190. Braylon Wagler also took first at 235. Let's see. For Pekin, their highest finisher of the weekend was Haley Pedrick with a second place finish at 135. And then Highland and Columbus and Winfield Mount Union all competed at the Prairie Winter Classic. Highlands Abby Groughton and Lily Bear, both second place finishers. For Columbus and WMU, Aubrey Hoback and Dakota Storm both took second. So not a lot of action, just that was kind of the couple teams that took part in some tournaments over the weekend, 2 weeks ago, I guess now, but we'll be 2 weeks this Saturday. But
I actually forgot because those are the Saturday ones, but we the conference, the last day of conference before the season actually did take place in between shows because we missed one last week. So I want to see Fairfield went to Burlington. They lost 55-22 to Burlington, but beat Tipton in a triangular 43-27. So that vaulted the Greyhounds above the Trojans. Looks like Fort Madison and Burlington are the leaders in the SEC as far as wrestling is concerned. Washington got a big win that you were at over Keokuk, 58-18. So Washington's right there in third, I believe, if my math is right. Fourth, because Fairfield beat Washington. So right now it's Fort Madison and Burlington 1-2. Fairfield, Washington, and then Mount Pleasant had to wrestle against Fort Madison, 69-3 Fort Madison. But Mid Prairie was also there, lost 69-12 to Fort Madison. Fort Madison absolutely stacked. And then the last duel of the night, Mount Pleasant and Mid Prairie went at it. Mid Prairie 42, Mount Pleasant 28. So that was a fun one to end on after the frustration of having to wrestle against Fort Madison, who has been with the class of the conference the last couple of years and pretty unstoppable. When Fort Madison wrestles against Burlington, that'll be a little bit of a clash. So that's a fun little rivalry.
Fort Madison's just been so good the last couple of years. Yeah,
our three SEC schools, Fairfield, Washington, and Mount Pleasant, have a little bit of work to do if they're going to be able to climb up, and they're going to need help, like some Fort Madison kids decide to go do something else, play video games or something, because they got a pretty darn good team over there. Anyway, so that was our wrestling roundup. As you said, we're in a little bit of a lull as far as high school sports, college sports. Iowa Wesleyan has been rolling along. It's Iowa Wesleyan's best winter in a long time. They beat 3 ranked teams in women's wrestling the other day in a duel. They are currently ranked number, 11?
I think so.
The Iowa Wesleyan women, the Iowa Wesleyan men are still receiving votes.
Which is crazy to me.
In men's basketball. They should probably be ranked, I
feel like they
think,
should be ranked.
because they haven't lost since, a month and
Week
a half
1?
ago. They lost to Western Illinois in a scrimmage, but they played them pretty close.
Yeah.
In my opinion, all 4 of the Wesleyan winter sports, men's and women's wrestling and men's and women's basketball, have potential rankings and the potential to go far and potential to be in the national championships here pretty soon. So that's kind of exciting, and that'll ramp up because Iowa Wesleyan's in the Continental Athletic Conference, and so they don't play. They're also spread out. There's a team in Kansas, there's a team in Florida. The highest ranked team in men's basketball in the CAC is in Florida. It's Florida College. So Iowa Wesleyan will play them, and they have to all meet in one place. So like when Mount Pleasant hosts it, they'll have a team from Florida come and they play like Haskell Indian Nations from Kansas. Kansas or Nebraska? Kansas comes over and plays, and there's a Penn State affiliate in this conference, and so they all have to kind of gather in little pods on the weekends to get the conference play, and then the big tournament will happen. Might be in New Mexico for men's basketball at least. We'll have to check on that. Wesleyan women. Wesleyan hosted it last year. Wesleyan women went to the national tournament, so they got to celebrate on their own home floor. But some exciting stuff coming up. And speaking of exciting, and speaking of college, well, is this speaking of exciting if we're going to start talking about Iowa's bowl game on Saturday?
Yeah.
A little bit of a clunker,
If all the
guys.
stars were playing.
Yeah, we got a little bit of a clunker coming up, but it's exciting. You know what? I've been an Iowa football fan since I was a little kid.
Let's do
and
it.
it doesn't matter how much everyone says, oh, this is going to be the worst football game of all time. It's going to set football back 100 years. Iowa's playing Kentucky with third-string quarterback against third-string quarterback, I believe.
Redshirt freshman.
Redshirt freshman for Iowa, Joey Labus. And who's Kentucky got starting? Do you remember? Some
I
guy.
can't
Who
remember.
knows?
Some
We'll
guy.
know him on Saturday. They play on Saturday.
Destin Wade, I think.
Okay, there we go. And Kentucky has
Also
really
a freshman.
Kentucky has some big receivers that aren't playing. Iowa has some receivers
Kentucky's
that aren't playing.
Insane running back. He, what's his name? It's like Rodriguez Jr. or something like that. The
Yeah.
running back. He's like one of the top running backs in the country.
Yeah.
He's averaging like 5.2
he's not
yards.
playing.
He's not playing.
He's not playing.
He's averaging like 5.2 yards a carry.
Will Levis is a great quarterback. He's not playing. So basically no one's playing. It's basically a JV game. But do you think that's going to make me care any less? Absolutely not.
I'm gonna say.
Well, you guess.
gonna make a
Pretend
pick.
I didn't just answer.
I'm gonna say. Let's see. Last year's was 2017, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, that was actually a heartbreaker. They choked it away last year.
I'm gonna go 24. I'll go 24-21. Why not?
24-21. Ooh, you could make some money if you tease the over a little bit because it's 31.5. Use
Yeah.
24-21 Hawkeyes?
Yep.
I'm going to go. I almost itched my ear. I forgot I was on camera for a second. I'm going to go. I'm going to go 14-6 Iowa. Iowa.
That's a good
Big
one.
10. I saw Wisconsin get a big win for the Big Ten, so that tells my brain that the Big Ten's always been good this year, and that's just they've been playing each other. 14-6 Iowa, so the under hits. Nick, you got any? No. He just shook his head. Shook his head. Well, Iowa, win or lose?
Lose.
Lose. All right, Iowa loses, according to Nick, and well, that's depressing. But I like defense. You know, I don't understand when people see a defensive football game and they think that's poor quality. I'm a defensive
Right.
guy. I mean, I'm not a defensive guy because I'm skinny, but I'm a defensive fan. I'm a Bears
There you go.
fan. They only play defense.
Yeah, that's all you. That's
So
it.
all I know is defense. That's ridiculous when people say that. I mean, obviously this is pretty low quality because of all the backups, but you never know. Could be one of the best
Hey,
games.
that Bears defense looked good this past weekend.
Yeah, they sure did.
Wasn't enough. But
That's right, it wasn't enough. But that's right. We don't want to win. We just want to play and get a good draft pick. But
There you go.
I'm not sure if anyone follows the Sickos Committee on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, it's hard to explain what the Sickos Committee is. We
Yeah.
ran a story from the Gazette. What is that? Today's paper and Wednesday's paper.
Today's paper.
That the Iowa was ranked the Sickos national champion. But basically, it's you're a sicko if you can sit down and watch a college football game that isn't good, basically.
Right.
And so Iowa games are, according to the Sickos Committee, the worst games because they're always like 14-11 or whatever. And they were picked as national championship. And I think that the Sickos game of the year will be this. It's this 11 a.m. On Saturday. Iowa versus Kentucky Sickos game of the year. So
Yep.
it'll be exciting. Over under is 31.5. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be giving out betting odds on the show, but basically it's supposed to be low scoring. So, yeah.
I think it'll be a good game. I mean,
there
all in all,
defensive touchdowns.
Even if it's not
happen.
Yeah, even if it's not offensively exciting.
Yeah, you said it's going to be bad because none of the offense starts for Iowa are playing, but then I was like, well, Iowa hasn't really done anything on offense anyway, so does it really matter? All the defensive players are playing.
True. Well, Justin Jacobs isn't playing though, right?
Oh, well. Yeah, he's not. A lot of people aren't
because he transferred to what, Oregon or something like that.
If you took the number of players who aren't playing in this game and played them against the winner of the game, that would be exciting.
Hey, that'd be really exciting.
I'm excited. Now you're getting me all juiced up for it on Saturday. I gotta wait though a few days. Anyway, we'll be back next week with Southeast Iowa Union Sports Live. We'll talk a little bit. We have games on Tuesday. Fairfield plays Centerville and some basketball on Tuesday. Mount Pleasant, New London play on Tuesday.
That'll be a
Mount
good
Pleasant.
game.
That boys game is a really cool rivalry between those two. So there is some fun stuff to look forward to before next Wednesday's show. Got a frog in my throat for a second. Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. For all those who say forget those first 3 holidays, I'm about the New Year.
Be safe out there.
New Year gets kind of a bad rap in my opinion.
Yeah.
New Year's cool.
Enjoy tomorrow too.
Enjoy tomorrow.
56 degrees.
That's right.
Go swing the golf club, maybe.
Yeah, go swing the golf club and have a little fun and make some good New Year's resolutions that you're not going to follow through on. That's my New Year's resolution, is that I'm not going to follow through on my New Year's resolution. It used to be that the Cubs win the World Series, which obviously I had no control over, but it came to in 2016. So, did we miss any holidays? I don't want to get canceled because we missed a holiday. No,
not to my knowledge.
Not to my knowledge. Happy whatever you celebrate. Happy sports, and come back and watch us next week. 2:00's on Wednesdays, except when we get sick, obviously. So happy health to everybody.
Hopefully.
And we'll see you next week.